This is the Louie T Network.
Man, I love some football. Man, I love some football. My favorite week is week 1, cause I'm watching football. First comes the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. We in the lab room.
Louie T, welcome. You are in the lab room. Of course, I am your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 14 in the National Football League. Thursday night football we will attend to here in a second. But first, let me welcome you to the program. Friday edition of In the Lab Room. Thank you for joining me once again. Now, we talked about this on the program yesterday. I thought that the Cowboys would dominate the game. Thursday night football on the road, return to the scene of the crime. Last year they went to Chicago on a Monday night, were dismantled by Josh McCown. Alshon Jeffrey, never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. Brandon Marshall and the entire crew, Matt Forte, they were all on display last year. Racked up over 40 points, beat the Cowboys, embarrassed them on national television. Cowboys were out for a measure of revenge. And we all know revenge is a dish best served ice cold. And so, 8-4 Cowboys taking on the 5-7 Bears. I thought that the Cowboys would be able to take care of business. It was funny, I rarely watch pregame shows. Don't see the use for them, but I actually tuned in to the pregame show for this particular game because I had nothing else to do. And it was funny, Michael Irvin was talking about the struggles of Calvin Johnson prior to the Thanksgiving matchup versus these same Bears. And he said Calvin Johnson went to the doctor and he said, "Doc, what do I do? I've been struggling. I need to get back into the groove. My team needs me." And his doctors told him, "Take 2 Chicago Bears. Call me in the morning." Calvin Johnson went off for about 10 catches, bucking some change, a couple of touchdowns on Thanksgiving. And so that was Michael Irvin's way of saying, hey, if you want to get back on track offensively, the Bears are the team to do it against. I can't argue with that. We've seen the Bears give it up all year long. Patriots got them for over 40 points, may have even gotten into the 50s on them. Packers had 40-something at the halftime break on these same Bears. Not a good football team are these Chicago Bears. And I look at this Bears team, and again, I said this yesterday, can't really quite put my finger on why they're not good offensively. We know they're not good defensively. We get that. We understand that's a given. But offensively, just can't understand why this team isn't able to generate more points and keep this team in ball games. Hey, if it's a shootout, we've seen teams with bad defenses win in this league before because the offense was able to outscore the opposition. Wasn't always pretty, but if you got to win 38-35, if that's your recipe for success, hey, by all means, knock yourself out. But the Bears can't even generate points. So it's one thing to give up points, but if you can't score them to offset the amount of points you're giving up, you're not going to have a chance in this league. In fact, you're going to be blown out the majority of the time, which is what has happened to the Bears this season. And so here are the Dallas Cowboys, a team that's capable of scoring some points in bunches, coming to town, fresh off of a big beatdown at the hands of the Eagles on Thanksgiving Day. They were out for blood. They needed to have this one at 8-4. They're still sitting on the outside looking at the playoff race, so they had to have this one. This wasn't up for debate. This wasn't optional. They had to win this game, and so if you're the Bears, your season's on life support. Your head coaching, look, we'd be kidding ourselves and fooling ourselves if we think that Mark Tresman isn't on the hot seat, okay? His job is on the line. The way the Bears finish this season up is going to determine whether he gets an extra year to figure this thing out, or if they say, you know what, 2 years is enough of the Mark Tresman experience. We're not getting what we want out of Jay Cutler. We're not getting what we want out of this offense. You're not what we thought you were going to be at this level. Sayonara. Thanks for coming. Thanks for playing, but we're going to have to move on. So if they don't finish these last 4 games up strongly and are able to get 2 out of the last 4, if they can't split these games up, find a way to 7 and 9, I think Mark Tresman might be on his way out. So it's a big one for the Bears as well. Probably won't make the postseason no matter what they do. They could win the final 3, go 9-7. Probably going to miss the postseason either way. But win their final 4 and get to 9-7. They're probably going to miss the postseason either way. It doesn't really matter what they do record-wise. It matters from a psyche standpoint. What does this team look like? Did this team give up? Is Mark Tresman getting through to the troops and getting them to respond on the field? So it's a big matchup for the Bears as well. Cowboys got to have it always needed. So here we go. And early on, you could see the same thing that I talked about in the preview, the same thing that has illed this Bears team, all season long, was going to be a problem in this game. They can't play any defense. And we saw DeMarco Murray get off early, and it wasn't right away. Neither one of these teams were able to really muster much of an offensive attack in the first quarter, but you knew it was only a matter of time because the Cowboys actually were moving the football. They would have some kind of hiccup once they passed midfield, whether it be a penalty, a couple of incomplete passes, or whatever the case may be. They just weren't able to continue to finish drives, but at some point they were going to put it together. Bears, meanwhile, weren't doing much of anything. So I said it's only a matter of time. DeMarco Murray is running the football effectively. Tony Romo, no pressure whatsoever. He's having a little bit of time. They did get a sack on him early in the game to push them out of field goal range. I want to say it was the first possession of the game. Willie Young was able to get in and get a sack. Well, that was one of the few times Tony Romo was flustered in this game, and he had time to do whatever it is he felt like doing. The running game was successful. The passing game was successful. I mean, this game, I want to say at halftime, the score might have been 17-10 maybe, 14-10, something like that. I mean, the Bears were right there in this football game. And then the floodgates opened in the second half. The Cowboys did whatever it was they wanted to do in this game. And again, you could see it coming. The writing was on the wall. You could see what was happening throughout the course of the game. You could see that the Cowboys were beginning to get more and more comfortable in what they were doing. The Bears weren't threatening them on either side of the football, offensively nor defensively. And at some point, you knew the Cowboys were going to hit their stride. And I think the Cowboys scored right before the half. That was a huge touchdown that they were able to score. I think they hit Witten on a 15-yard completion on like 3rd and 12. Huge pickup. Extended that drive out. They ended up getting in the end zone with a touchdown. And that touchdown before the half really sparked them in the second half. Bears get the football. And this was, to me, the turning point of the game was the fumble by Matt Forte. Bears trying to mount some offense to start the second half. Again, Cowboys scored right before the halftime break, so you really want to come out and seize that momentum back by going out. Even if you get a field goal, you want to be able to say, hey, we're on the board. We've got a little bit of confidence now. We feel like we can move the ball in this Cowboys defense. Let's see if we can't mount some consecutive drives here and put some points up on the scoreboard. And Matt Forte comes out and coughs the football up on that first possession. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. Yum, yum, eat 'em up. Cookies, please. Puts it on the carpet. Cowboys recover. And from that point on, they never looked back in this game. Cole Beasley scores 2 touchdowns. Beautiful play by Romo on one of those passes on I want to say it was a 3rd down, rolls out. It really looks like he's throwing the football away. Lofts it up to Cole Beasley. Chris Conte in good position, but again, just didn't know where the football was and actually jumped for it, but jumped way too early. Right into the hands of Cole Beasley, the football goes. They end up getting in the end zone. And so I thought that the Cowboys they made more plays than the Bears did in this game. And I also thought offensively the night really went downhill when Brandon Marshall, B. Marsh, went down with an injury. I'm hearing reports that he could potentially be out for the remainder of the season. He had a couple of broken ribs. He damaged his lung a little bit. Those shots to the back, man, those are serious. We saw what happened to Tony Romo against the Redskins with that knee to the back. Those knees to the back coming with that kind of force can be extremely detrimental to a player's health. And you saw it with Brandon Marshall, had to leave the stadium in an ambulance for further evaluation. So I thought the offense took a huge dip in production when he left the game, and they weren't really able to recover offensively once he left. The Cowboys jumped out to a huge lead. At one point in this game, Cowboys were up 41 to, let's call it 14. Bears rallied late in the game to make it interesting, to get it to 41 to 28, recover an onside kick, get the football all the way down to the Cowboys' 8-yard line before Jay Cutler, once and for all, throws an interception to Orlando Scandrick, who was snapping earlier on the sidelines because of everything that was going on. The botched onside recovery by the tight end, one of the backup tight ends, in Gavin Escobar. Clearly hit some in his hands, got to catch that, didn't catch it. So that gave the Bears life to stay around and stick around in this game. Defensively, they weren't getting done. A lot of breakdowns and coverage to allow the Bears to get chunks, because again, when you're winning by as much as the Cowboys are winning, I say this all the time, you need to have defensive breakdowns. Teams have to have turnovers or defensive breakdowns to allow teams to quick strike and get back into the game. That's what the Bears were doing, getting chunks of yardage, whether it was Martellus Bennett or Alshon Jeffrey. Never, ever trust a man with two first names. They were getting chunk plays and getting back into this game. But when it's all said and done, too much DeMarco Murray, 32 carries, I believe, 36 carries, somewhere in that window. $182 for him on the night. He did whatever he wanted to do in this game on the ground, especially late when the Bears needed to get a stop. They could not stop DeMarco Murray. Tony Romo, again, this is what you cannot do if you're playing the Cowboys. You cannot allow DeMarco Murray to do what it is he did against this Bears football team, because what it does is it takes the football out of Tony Romo's hands. And Tony Romo was extremely efficient on the night, something like 21 of 26 for 200 and some change, a couple of touchdown tosses. You cannot allow Tony Romo to be a caretaker of the football. You can't allow Tony Romo to only make plays when plays are there to be made. You have to force the issue and force Tony Romo to feel like he needs to make a play to help his team win. That's when he forces the envelope. That's when he turns the football over. You let him hand it off to DeMarco Murray. You let them have that balance that they're looking for, that happy medium. When they find that, they're all but impossible to stop on the offensive side of football. Bears found that out the hard way. Cowboys go on the road to Chicago, get it done, 41-28, in decisive fashion. The score really doesn't do this game any justice. The Cowboys dominated this game from the start of the second half all the way to its conclusion. So the Cowboys took care of business on the road. They remain perfect on the season. Hell, I don't know if the Cowboys need to win the division. I think they need to go on the road. They may have a shot at the Super Bowl if they stay away from Jerry's World. That's where all the trouble and confusion happens. When they go on the road, it's peaceful, it's serene, it's quiet, it's a winning formula for this football team this season. They are undefeated on the road now, a tally of 6-0 total for this Cowboys team on the road. They've been getting it done this season away from Dallas, and they continue that trend in this game, 41-28. Does not look good for Mark Tresman. Another game where this Bears team surrenders over 40 points. Another game at Soldier Field where this team can't get it done. Keep in mind, up until that recent outburst where they won 2 consecutive games at home, one against Tampa, one against Minnesota, this team had not won at home all season long. They were one of the last teams to get a home victory. Still, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers remain the only team in the league without a home victory to their name this season, but the Bears were lumped in with them just 3 weeks ago. So this Bears team has struggled at home. They've struggled defensively. The offense isn't clicking. You don't really have all the answers. It does not look good for Mark Tresman right now. That's going to do it for the Thursday night football showdown between the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Bears. Cowboys lead the game at 9-4. Now insert themselves into the playoff race. Meanwhile, Bears dropped to 5-8 on the season. Now they can only finish with an 8-8 mark on the season. That's the best they can do, and they would have to win all 3 of their remaining games. And I just don't know if the Bears have that kind of football left in them, especially when you tell me that Brandon Marshall may not play for the remainder of the season. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll jump into the week number 14 Pick'em Weekly. Social media has taken off in ways that I couldn't have imagined. And thus, I've taken the liberty to start being more active on social media. So like me on Facebook at In the Lab Room. Follow me on Twitter at In the Lab Room. You can also +1 me on Google Plus at Louie T. And also, of course, my main hub, subscribe to my channel on YouTube. That's youtube.com/In the Lab Room. These are all ways that I'm looking forward to interacting with you, the viewers, in the upcoming season of the Louie T Network. So we're back. Thank you for joining me here on the program once again. Without you, there's no me, Louie T. So let's jump into the Week 14 Pick'em Weekly. I want to run through these very quickly. Some really good games. This is a really decisive weekend in the National Football League because there are a lot of teams that are jockeying for postseason play ability, playing against one another in this week. And so a lot of teams are leaving Week 14 with their feelings hurt. And again, when we start talking about tiebreakers and conference record and head-to-head matchups, you got to take care of business. I mean, if you're San Diego and you're looking to get in and you're at home against New England, I know it's the Patriots, but you got to find a way to win. These are teams that you're going to probably be seeing down the road. If you get in, you need to be able to say, hey, I beat you. Even though it was at the crib, might not get you at the crib again. I've beaten you before. I know I can beat you again. If you're Baltimore, you're Miami, you're playing against one another. Hey, both of you are 7-5. Somebody's leaving this game at 7-6. Somebody's going to 8-5. Somebody's giving themselves a chance to make the postseason. Somebody's going to be looking up saying, hey, we're running out of time, and we're running out of time fast. I mean, there are a lot of games. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Hey, you still want to win this division? If you're Pittsburgh, you got to go on the road, and you got to beat Cincinnati. You got the Cincinnati Bengals twice in a month span. You got to take care of business on the road. You've put yourself in a position where got to have them. So there are a lot of these games where you're looking at two teams staring at each other in the face. Kansas City, Arizona. Two teams on 2-game losing streaks that were playing outstanding football just 3 weeks ago. Somebody's got to win this game. Somebody's got to take care of business. That's a biggie. So we will see what happens. Let's jump into these games. And speaking of which, Indy at Cleveland. I mean, really? Does it get bigger than this for the Cleveland Browns? You have essentially an internal struggle a week ago. You benched Brian Hoyer. Billy Ho not getting it done the last couple of weeks. And I think the biggest issue here is he's forcing the football to Josh Gordon. He's forcing the football to Josh Gordon. 29 targets in 2 games. Look, the guy is dynamic. You want to integrate him back into the offense. I get it. However, you were doing a magnificent job of spreading the wealth. I mean, Gabriel was getting involved. You had Andrew Hawkins getting involved. You had the tight end position without Jordan Cameron. You had Jim Drake. You had Gary Barnidge all getting involved. Miles and miles of Austin getting involved. All of a sudden, Josh Gordon comes back and nobody else is getting the football. Spread it around. Do what got you to the show. You're a 7-5 football team. Glad to see Mike Pettin make the right decision inserting Billy Ho as his starting quarterback. And again, you can always go away from him if it doesn't work, but to put Johnny Manziel, to put Jonathan Football in the game and have him mess up, it's hard to go back to Billy Ho after that. So it's easier to say, hey, we're going in this direction. If it doesn't work, you can always say, I got a quick trigger. I can pull him out and insert the young fella and just keep it moving from there. But it's hard to go the other way around. So this is a big one. But Indianapolis on the road, they're going to have to win games like this moving forward because this is a Colts team. I still worry about them. The lack of running game is an issue. The amount of turnovers, an issue. And the lack of pass rush, an issue. All of these things I think will come back to haunt them down the road. But in this particular game, against this Cleveland Browns team that struggles defensively a little bit, that struggles. And you know what? It's hard to say they struggle defensively as much as it is they struggle stopping the run, which the Indianapolis Colts don't do a very good job of doing anyhow. But this team in Cleveland, to me, doesn't do enough. Doesn't do enough as a team. And I thought the defense did a wonderful job last week against Buffalo, giving the offense chances to try to win that football game, forcing turnovers and whatnot. The offense just couldn't do anything with it. And you look at what they did 2 weeks ago against Atlanta when they were able to win. The offense, I thought, threw that game away, and the defense was able to come up with a couple of stops late in that ball game to give them a chance to pull that one out. I just don't know if they can put together a complete game at home with all the distractions, from the quarterback position from a week ago. Indy is a really good football team. I could easily see the Browns winning this game, but I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts. On the one, this is a huge one. You're talking about 7-5 Cleveland. Their season, a month ago when they beat Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football looked like it was on the up and up. You fast forward to now at 7-5. This is a team right now that their season with another loss here could be on life support, just like that. Indianapolis Colts coming to the game at 8-4. They haven't run away with this division yet. You got the Texans behind them at 6-6. They got one more meeting with the Texans. It'd be nice to get this one on the road, go to 9-4, and really solidify your spot in that division. You're going to win the division if you're the Colts, but put it away. Put the division away and start setting your sights and potentially getting a number 2 seed in the AFC playoffs. Get this one on the road. I expect Indy to do exactly that. Give me the Colts in that football game. Baltimore at Miami, another big-time matchup in Week 14. Two teams at 7-5 coming into this game. And the Dolphins, they got to have this one. There's no other way to say it. I mean, the Ravens could probably still find a way in if they lose this game just because of their mental makeup. This is a tough team with a head coach and a quarterback that have a Super Bowl, that have been to the postseason every year they've been together, except for last year. That was their first time not making it together. Even if they lose this game, fall to 7-6, I can see the Ravens going on an improbable run. And again, you don't know what's going to happen around them, but this conference looks eerily similar last year, where there are a lot of teams sitting there, with a chance to go, and everything fell apart and allowed the San Diego Chargers to come off the pace where everybody thought they were dead in the water with 2 games to go, 3 games to go, and they were able to come in and get all the help they needed, and they got into the postseason. I can see the Ravens doing the same thing if they lose, but they don't want to lose this game. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you start relying on other teams to do your dirty work for you. How about you take care of business? And I think the Ravens can do that, but the defense that the Dolphins play and the fact that the Ravens aren't the highest scoring team in the world. Forget about that 33 points they put up last week against San Diego. That's not who this Ravens team is on a week in, week out basis. This is a team that's usually scoring up around 17, 20, 23 points, usually max. And with a Dolphins defense that can get after your quarterback, that can stop the run, that can turn you over, you find me a cornerback right now playing better football than their cornerback in Miami right now. Now, look, across the field from him, scary proposition. I don't know what's going on over there. Again, I saw way too much of R.J. Sanford. I don't know what's going on at the cornerback position over there. Got a couple of injuries, I presume, which is why he got in. But you find me a cornerback right now playing better than the guy that they have out there. And I don't think he's just a Pro Bowler right now, okay? I don't think he's just a Pro Bowler. I think he right now is playing at an all-pro level. And I didn't think that would be the case when they got him in free agency a couple years ago. But right now, can you find me a cornerback that is playing better than Brent Grimes? I don't think you can. And right now, I think the Dolphins and what they're doing in that secondary with Grimes, and you also look at their safety. I think their safeties are outstanding in Rashard Jones. And also Louis Delmas has come in, gave them a physicality, and he's played the ball well this season. They're playing some outstanding football in Miami right now defensively. Even the games that they're losing are extremely close, and they've had opportunities to win those football games. You see the loss in Denver. They had that game. They let it slip through their fingers. You see the last-second loss to Green Bay. Had that game, let it slip through their fingers. Same thing with the Detroit loss. This Dolphins team is locked in right now, and I just see them playing good enough football to get it done at home versus the Baltimore Ravens. I could regret this one, but I'm taking the Dolphins at home to find a way to get it done and get to 8-5 on the season. You go to the next matchup, Carolina at New Orleans, NFC South family business. The Panthers are done. They're shot. They have no more bullets left in that gun. I expect New Orleans to take care of business at home. It hasn't been pretty for New Orleans over the last month, especially that 3-game slide at the house. That's not something we're used to seeing. 3 consecutive home games for the Saints team, 3 consecutive losses. But those teams that they played throughout that streak were all good football teams. San Francisco, Cincinnati, and finally Baltimore. Carolina is not that. Give me the Saints at home to take care of business. Stay atop that division at 6-7. Pittsburgh Steelers at Cincinnati Bengals. More family business. Steelers come into this game at 7-5, and the Cincinnati Bengals come in at 8-3-1 at the top of this division right now as it stands. I don't trust Cincinnati. Neither do I trust the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a crazy game to break down because one week the Steelers are up, the next week they're down. And with Cincinnati, you just don't know what you're getting because of the quarterback position. Andy Dalton is a smorgasbord. He's a bag of goodies and a bag of baddies at the same time. You reach in and you just don't know what you're picking out when you're talking Andy Dalton. Is he going to show up and have one of those type of games that makes you say, man, why not the Cincinnati Bengals? Or is he going to have one of those games that makes you say, why the Cincinnati Bengals? And my thing is, the Steelers, to me, raise their level of play when they raise their level of competition. When the competition is its greatest, the Steelers play some of their best football. When they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, when they're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when they're playing a team like the Saints at home who's struggling, they struggle. And so, to me, this is a huge test for them on the road in the division. If they have any aspirations of winning this division, it starts in this football game. Don't ask me why. I've done this all year long. I feel like I'm almost banging my head up against a brick wall and I'm about to go insane. But I keep having this gut feeling about the Steelers that they're going to find a way to get it done. Don't ask me why because it doesn't make any sense. But I'm taking it. To me right now, it makes more sense than picking Cincinnati because I just don't trust Andy Dalton. At least I trust Ben. I don't trust the Steelers team as a whole, but I don't trust Andy Dalton at all. Give me Pittsburgh to find a way to get it done on the road, surprise some people, and get it done. Taking the Steelers in that one. Tampa Bay and Detroit, make this one short and sweet. I said this was my sole survivor pick on the Wednesday edition of In the Lab Room. Nothing has changed from Wednesday to Friday. Lions are getting it done in this game. They're the better team. They play superior defense. They're going to shut the Buccaneers down. Give me Detroit. Houston at Jacksonville. AFC South family business. Jaguars coming off of an improbable win at home, down 21, rallying back to win that football game 25-24 over the Giants. Can they put together a 2-game winning streak? You betcha, especially when it's family business. But Arian Foster, man, my gosh, salute. That guy is amazing. D-Hop had probably his best game of the season last week. The offense was phenomenal in every sense of the word. Do I expect Ryan Fitzpatrick to do that again? Absolutely not. But can he take this team to a victory against a 2-win Jacksonville team on the road? Why not? Give me Houston to take care of business, go to 7-6, and set up a huge matchup with Indy late in the season. You move on to the Jets at Minnesota. The Minnesota Vikings have to be smiling from ear to ear. We got the lowly Carolina Panthers at home last week. We're able to dispose of them pretty easily, 31-13. The next week, we get the 2-win Jets at the crib. Man, thanks a lot, football guys. We really appreciate it, man. We could absolutely use this early Christmas gift. They're going to take care of business. The Jets have no confidence in their quarterback situation right now. They do play defense, which I think can allow them to hang in this game. And when it's all said and done, the Vikings will do enough, whether it's 13-10, 7-10, 16-13, or 20-10. They'll do enough to win this game. Give me Minnesota at home to improve to a very surprising 6-7 on the season. Move on to the next matchup. Giants at Tennessee. Giants blew it last week. They're on a 7-game skid. They had an opportunity to snap that losing streak, get out of the cellar and basement in the NFC East, tied with the Redskins at 3-9 right now. Had a chance to go to 4-8 on the season and kind of quiet all of the distractions from the media and the questions about Tom Coughlin's job. All of those things could have been put to rest for a week. Instead, those voices and questions start to resonate even louder because of that ugly loss last week. I expect them to beat Tennessee this week, but again, you couldn't beat Jacksonville last week. Tennessee is bad, but hey, they're not that bad where they can't get you just like Jacksonville did. So, hey, I'm not too sure that this is a runaway victory for the Giants, but man, I don't like the way the Titans play football at all. Then you tell me Zach Mettenberger may not be able to play. He's a game-time decision. Probably will play when it's all said and done, but not that he makes the world of difference. But, I mean, if you're a Titans fan, you want to see this kid play. You want to see him get experience. Either way, I still believe the Giants are better than the Titans. And when it's all said and done, that's what matters to me. Give me the Giants to snap that losing streak on the road, get it done, move to 4-9 on the season. St. Louis Rams at the Washington Redskins. Redskins are a mess. Rams right now are playing. You know what? They're another enigma. I talk about that AFC North division and those teams in that division being an enigma with Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Cincinnati. All of them are teams from week to week. You just really don't have an idea of what you're getting from them. You just don't. And this Rams team is another one of those teams. If you look at their body of work this year, you're like, God damn, how are you 5-7? I mean, they beat Denver. They beat Seattle. They beat San Francisco. We're talking about major powerhouse football teams in this league. They had Arizona on the ropes, let them off the hook. They came back down big against Philly, almost slayed that dragon. This is a dangerous St. Louis Rams team. They had San Diego on the ropes, let them off the hook. This team right here put 52 on the skulls of the Raiders. I'm a Redskins fan. I don't want any part of these St. Louis Rams right now. I honestly think the Redskins have a legitimate shot with Colt McCoy to win this football game, but I am not picking against this Rams team right now. Give me the St. Louis Rams to go into Washington, put pressure on Colt McCoy, maybe force a turnover or two, win this football game in D.C. You move to the next game, Buffalo at Denver. The Bills are playing with a lot of confidence right now. However, and look, I'm talking to Bills fans, and they're like, hey, why can't we beat Denver this week? Why not us? Well, let me tell you why not you, okay? And you know, the rallying cry right now is, hey, St. Louis did it. You know, the Rams out-physicaled them, pumped them, you know, reduced them to next to nothing offensively. Why can't we do it? We're just as good, if not better, than the St. Louis Rams on defense. And that is true. But let's look at a couple of factors in that game. One, Denver had no intentions of playing without two of their better players. One for basically the entire game in Julius Thomas that is, and the other being Emmanuel Sanders for all of the second half. They had no intentions of playing without those guys in that game. Injuries bit them in that game, and they suffered, okay? That's number one, okay? But again, injuries happen to everybody. Deal with them, okay? But that's number one. Number two, the Bills are going to be on the road. The Rams were not. They were at home. That makes a difference. That's number two. Number three, the Buffalo Bills right now are a team that does just enough offensively. They don't really scare you offensively, okay? They're not a team that puts up a lot of points necessarily, does a lot of things that makes you say, man, they could do some things there and really hurt you. Whereas the Rams, I'm not saying the Rams are, you know, a juggernaut offensively, but they did score 52 points last week, okay? You got the Bills or Raiders coming up. I dare you to score 52 points on the Raiders. You probably won't be able to make that happen. It's different because Peyton Manning knows what he has. If Juice plays, great. If he doesn't, we're prepared mentally to play without Juice. We've done it the last 2 weeks and gotten it done. The running game is totally different. When you played, or when they played St. Louis, they had no running game. The running game, they thought they were getting Monte Ball back in that game. He got injured in that game. They didn't have any semblance of a running game then. 2 weeks later, they look like a power run football team. You got your work cut out for you in Mile High I'm taking the Denver Broncos to continue to remain perfect on the season. Buffalo, what you really have to realize is that your season has come down to murderer's row. And I just don't see you staving off execution. Give me Denver in this football game. You move on to Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals have fallen on hard times, but so have the Kansas City Chiefs. 2 weeks ago, both of these teams were red hot, piping hot, even up. The Chiefs were 7-3 going into that Thursday night matchup versus the Raiders. A lot of people didn't think I thought they could lose that game, but a lot of people like, it's the Raiders, they're 0-10. No way Chiefs are losing to those guys, but they did. And then they turn around and you got Denver the next week. That's a toughie because you know that could easily turn into a 2-game slide, which it did. You look at Arizona, and you know I had Cardinals fans saying, hey man, we're not going to miss a beat with Drew Stanton. When Carson Palmer went down, Stanton stepped in, fired a touchdown pass in that game to help them win against the St. Louis Rams. Then he comes back the next week, 2 first quarter touchdowns against against Detroit to win that game 14-6. Everything's all good in the hood in Arizona until I said, hey, you got to go on the road. I mean, it's nice to beat St. Louis at home, nice to beat Detroit at home. But what happens when you go on the road? What happens when you take the Drew Stanton Express out on the road? Does he still play well and get you some wins then? I wasn't sure. Go to Seattle, score 3 points. You go to Atlanta, score 18. Really, you scored 10. And if you want to be honest, you only scored 8 offensively because Rashad Johnson had an 88-yard touchdown return on an interception and you scored a field goal. So offensively, you only scored 8 points in that game, and that was in trash garbage time. So I don't know, but you're back home in the comfy confines of the university. That is where I think your money. I like the Arizona Cardinals at home. No, I don't believe in Drew Stanton, but I do believe in this Cardinals football team at home. Give me the Cardinals to right the ship, get to 10-3 on the season, and kind of stave off all competitors in that NFC West, at least for one more week. You go to San Francisco at Oakland. I am so concerned about this game. Not because of anything going on the field. I've already talked about this. Look, the Raiders know what's good. They've already amped up security for this game. They had a preseason tilt. These fans just don't get along. They don't like each other. I've been talking to fans on YouTube all year long, and this dates back to before the season started. You know, as a Raiders fan, you'd think they'd be talking about their 2 matchups versus San Diego, Denver, Kansas City. Man, they were like, man, damn all those games. We got San Francisco at the crib this year. Somebody's getting hurt. And I'm like, oh, you talking about the 49ers on the field? Hell no, I ain't talking about no 49ers on the field. I'm talking about in the crowd, man. Forget them 49ers fans. They think they this, they that. I'm like, hey. I don't want no part of that, man. Keep me out of that. So it's going to get ugly. In there. In the O.co. I hope nobody gets hurt. Seriously. On a serious note, I hope nobody gets hurt in the crowd in that game. And can't we all just get along? I mean, seriously. Can't we just sing Kumbaya and, you know, melt marshmallows and make s'mores together? What's going on, man? But on the field, seriously, on the field, the Raiders have a legitimate shot in this game because the San Francisco 49ers don't score any points. If the 49ers want me, Louie T, to take them seriously going down the stretch, they need to score over 20 points in this game against the Raiders. I want to see 27 or more. But I'm not going to put that type of pressure on Colin Kaepernick and his anemic offense for the 49ers. I'm just asking for 20 or more. If you can give me 20, you give me hope. Okay? You give me 27, and I'm going to take you seriously. And I really don't care how you get it. I don't care if the defense chips in with 2 touchdowns and you score 13 as an offense. I just need to see 27 points on the scoreboard. Like you did against New Orleans when you won the last time your back was against the wall. Can you do that for me this week? You'll make me a believer again. You can't do that and you eke by or you even lose. If you lose, it's over. If you eke by and you win this game 17-13, 16-13, 13-7, you win this game 17-10, I'm going to look at you funny. Like, really? You want me to take you seriously? And you do that? Really? So I need you to show up. Either way, I'm taking San Francisco to win the football. The Raiders have won their game for the season. If they win another one, hey, it'll be a damn miracle. Give me San Francisco. Seattle at Philadelphia. To me, in the NFC, there is no bigger game than this one right here. I mean, these two teams right here still have a legitimate shot at winning their divisions. You got Seattle as the defending Super Bowl champions. The defense has come alive. They look like they did a season ago. The offense is still missing out on some opportunities, but hey, they're doing enough to win at 8-4. If they get on this horse that they've been on, they giddy up. They've been on the horse of late with some huge wins on the road. They got one at home versus the Arizona Cardinals. Then they go on the road and beat San Francisco. So now all of a sudden, Seattle's like, hey, look at us. Don't forget about us. Here we come. Now, this is the biggest test of the season for me. I mean, you lost to Dallas at home. You lost at Kansas City. You've won some games big time this year. Lost at St. Louis. You've struggled on the road this year. There's no mistaking that. No bones about it. But this one here, this one matters. Because I think we know who the Eagles are. Not really sure, because every time they've played elite competition, sans for Dallas. And again, Dallas, that's family business. So, you know what? I kind of throw those guys off to the side. This one right here, though, this one is big time football. And every time I've seen Philly in some big time football matchups, I've seen Philly lose. At Arizona, you had a matchup where they didn't get it done against San Francisco on the road. You also had their other loss of the season at Green Bay. So all their losses on the road. Here's a big one at the crib. Can you get it done? Oh, you know what scares me here? First of all, if Shady can get off. Hey, if Shady can get off, look out for the Eagles in this game. But if the Seahawks do what they've done the last month or so, which is stop the run outside of that Kansas City game, if they can stop the run and make Dirty Ches have to stay clean, I don't like the Eagles' chances, people. I don't. I don't like Dirty Ches in this spot. Because when pressure mounts, that's when Dirty Ches gets filthy and he starts getting nasty. That's why I call him dirty. I don't like Dirty Ches's chances of staying clean in this game. In fact, I could see one going to the crib for the Seattle Seahawks. If the Seahawks can find a way to not let the Eagles special teams impact the game, if they can stop Shady from running the football and remain balanced and not turn it over themselves offensively, which Russell Wilson does a pretty good job of doing, I think Seattle's going to win this game on the road. I really do. Give me the Seahawks on the road to make a statement and take care of the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles could easily win this game because they score points, something that the Seahawks don't do. But for them to do that, in order for them to do that, they're going to have to keep Dirty Ches upright and keep him away from the pressure that's going to force him to make some mistakes. They keep him clean. They get and the key to that, to me, is running the football with Shady. If they could get LaShawn Shady McCoy off the ground and running, the Eagles got as good a shot as anybody to take down this Seattle Seahawks team, but I just don't see it happening. Give me Seattle. You move on to the Sunday night football game. One of the biggest contests of Week 14, San Diego Superchargers taking on the New England Patriots. Patriots were on fire. That was until last week. They got cooled off by the Green Bay Packers, but make no mistake about it, still one of the best teams in all of football, not just the AFC Conference. And so they're out to prove a point on Sunday Night Football that whether we're home, whether we're away, we can get it done. And this is a big test for them because the Chargers can score with the best of them. Last week they ran into an offensive football team that could score, and they weren't able to do enough. This week they run into a team that can score. Defense isn't as good as the defense they saw last week. Home field advantage isn't as stout as it was last week. So I expect the Patriots to be able to go on the road and do some things here. But there's something about Phillip Rivers and this Chargers team that just has me polarized, that has me believing that they're going to find a way into the tournament. They're not winning their division. They're not going to win the AFC West. But they still have a legitimate shot of getting in. But they're going to have to win some toughies down the stretch like this one. Somehow, some way. Just like they did earlier in the season against Seattle. I like the San Diego Chargers at home. Don't ask me why I'm doing this. All signs point to the Patriots getting it done on Sunday night. But I'm going with the San Diego Chargers. Hope I don't regret that one. Going to Monday night now. Atlanta at Green Bay. This one for me is pretty simple. Packers are playing the most dominant football at home this season, and it's not even close. There are a number of undefeated teams at home this year. Denver's undefeated at home. New England's undefeated at home. Arizona's undefeated at home. Philadelphia's undefeated at home. There are undefeated teams in this league at home. That's not the issue. They're playing at another level at home. I mean, they're beating the brakes off of teams at Lambeau. And this could be one of those type of affairs. If Atlanta's not careful, if that defense isn't able to get Rodgers off the spot and produce a turnover or two, if they can't stop themselves from turning it over, they're going to be in a lot of trouble in this game. I think that the Falcons are playing their best football of the season, aside from that first 3-game window where they beat up Tampa Bay on Thursday night and they won against New Orleans in week 1, where they would start off the season 2-1. Since then, it's been downhill from there, except for the last 3 games where they were in a game that they should have won against Cleveland. They beaten Tampa Bay. They beat Carolina on the road. And now they've got an opportunity to win 2 in a row again, as they have a chance to beat Green Bay after beating Arizona last week. This Falcons team has been playing good football in the last month and a half or so of the season. Can they continue this hot football and go and get one that nobody is giving them a chance in hell of getting on the road against Green Bay? I think not. Give me Green Bay to take care of the Falcons, indecisive or dare, on Monday Night Football and go to 10-3 on the season. That's going to do it for my Pick'em Weekly and this installment of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as I continue to break down the entire National Football League here on this program. Enjoy the college football, a lot of playoff games with implications for that playoff structure in college football, a lot of conference championships and whatnot. I'm going to be watching some boxing. I'm a huge boxing fan. Sprinkling a little bit of NBA. Enjoy your weekend. You know we'll come back and we'll break it all down next week. See you then.
In the Lab